All right, breaking news here just before 11 o'clock. The judge is back in the Joe Mixon case. Looks like she is now just walking back into chambers. We'll see how long that's going to go. It's been all week that we have been hearing different testimony as leading up to this from a road rage incident back in January.
Yeah, so we're waiting on Judge Gwen Bender to come back into the courtroom. She said she'd be coming back in around now, so it looks like she's about set. But just to, catch you up on the case, if you're just tuning in and wondering what's happening in the Joe Mixon case, as Kelly mentioned, back in January, that's when an incident happened before the Bengals left for a Bills game where Joe Mixon is alleged to have pulled a gun on another driver. The victim says that Joe cut her off. They had some words at some point, and then Joe pulled a gun saying that he was going to shoot her and that the cops can't get her. So that leads us to this point, day 4 of the trial.
Yes, it's gone on, I would say, almost a little longer than potentially expected. Now, the defense did not call anyone. They let the state handle all of this, or the attorneys for the victim handle all of this so far as talking about what exchange happened there. We heard closing arguments this morning, each side taking about 30 minutes, and it looks like Judge Gwen Bender is back now in the courtroom.
I've taken the opportunity to review the evidence, including the stipulations and all of the documents. I had specific things I wanted to look at to supplement my notes that I took while testimony was occurring. The police department has meticulously documented the movement and location of Joe Mixon on January 21st. The quality of that evidence is such that I am convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that Joe Mixon and the prosecuting witness encountered one another in the city of Cincinnati. What that leaves is the 37 seconds at the interval at the light, and that 37 seconds was agreed to in stipulations between the parties. The state bears the burden of proving whether a crime occurred during that interval beyond a reasonable doubt. As everyone here is aware, proof beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest standard that we have in our justice system, as it should be. After a careful review of all of the evidence presented at trial, including the stipulations and the testimony presented today, I cannot say that the city sustained its burden. Not guilty.
Thank you.
All right, you see Joe Mixon hugging his attorneys there, not guilty on one count of aggravated menacing from an incident back in January. You can tell a lot of relief on his side of the table, but Judge Gwen Bender saying that the prosecuting attorneys just did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Joe Mixon had that gun and pointed it at the victim.
The center of the defense's argument throughout the last 4 days has been, was there actually a gun in the vehicle? Mixon saying that he doesn't own that kind of a gun, did not have one in his car at the time, where the victim's statements indicated that, the victim was far enough away, couldn't describe it in detail because of the distance between the two vehicles. So what you initially heard was the judge saying, yes, these two people had an encounter of some sort, but beyond a reasonable doubt, it could not be proved that he did, in fact, pull a gun on her.
Yeah, and then the prosecution was saying that maybe he got rid of the gun. Maybe he borrowed that gun, but he didn't have a gun in his possession afterwards to have had it that way. But in the end, the question was, did he have the gun? There's no evidence of the gun right now. There was no gun presented. And as Kelly mentioned there, Joe says he doesn't own a gun described that way. He does own some guns, admittedly so, but nothing like that. So our Brian Hamrick has been in the courtroom all 4 days of this trial. He's going to try to get some comment from everybody in there. Our Karen Johnson as well. She's down there as well because, we want to be able to hear directly from the victim in this, and also maybe Joe Mixon or maybe his attorneys will say something about winning this case.
Yep. Obviously, had this gone the other direction, there would have been conversation about what kind of punishment would have come down from the NFL. At this point, it doesn't appear there would be anything unless they can try to say some kind of interaction, but without the guilty verdict, very unlikely that there will be any other movement from the NFL. We want to check in now with WLWT News 5's Karen Johnson. Karen, obviously you have sat through a number of court cases. You are outside trying to find out if there's any kind of comment from the victim.
Yeah, and I'll call her, she was the alleged victim through all this. Ashley Meek, she just walked out of the courthouse pretty quickly after the judge rendered her not guilty verdict. I had a chance to talk to her. Tried to talk to her, I should say, asking her if she had any comment. She just said no, no, no. She said she wouldn't say anything, and she just bolted out of here pretty quickly. So no comment from Ashley Meek, the person who accused Joe Mixon of pointing a gun at her last January after a road rage incident. We are now waiting for, here's Mixon. We're going to go try and get him right now. He is walking out. I do not see his attorneys with him. Oh, yeah, there he is. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Attorney. He's talking to his attorneys right now. I'll give him the respect to just have a few words with his attorneys as the not guilty verdict was just rendered. Hey, Joe, can we get a comment from you?
Anything to say about how this came out?
What's going through your mind right now?
I gotta ask them.
How do you feel?
Really, it's just time to move on. All right.
Were you pretty confident? Were you guys pretty confident that it would be a not guilty verdict?
We thought it came out the way it should have.
How is Joe? I know he didn't really want to talk. He pointed at you guys. Emotionally, how has he been, I guess, this whole week, and what's going through his mind right now?
Well, I'm not clairvoyant, so I can't answer that. I'm sure he's happy.
Can you share any kind of words that were exchanged right after the not guilty verdict between you and Joe?
Not necessary.
Okay, very few words from Joe Mixon himself as well as his attorneys. They really didn't want to say much. Oh.
He's not going to get any better looking.
Now they're just making some jokes. You can see they're smiling. The victim, also Ashley Meek, walked out of the courthouse very quickly after the verdict. She also had very few words. So hopefully we will get them to maybe open up a little bit later and make a comment. But again, Joe, when he walked out, he did have a smile on his face. You could tell the relief.
How would you think he'd feel?
We're sticking with his attorneys, hoping they'll make a statement.
Hey, what's happening there?
Can you just explain what it was like for you to cover this trial and to hear the judge say not guilty?
It's over, and that's all that matters. We're just moving on.
And do you think this is going to affect him in any way, getting back to, practice and the games and the upcoming season?
Look, I don't know what to tell you, okay? What I'm telling you is the trial's over, and we're moving on.
You seemed confident in your opening statement that the state didn't have enough evidence. How do you feel now knowing that verdict came through?
I guess I was right.
All right, thank you. We'll let you guys go. Appreciate it. Okay, again, outside the courthouse, a lot of people walking out all at once. Very few words, but I think you could see the smile on Joe Mixon's face, his attorney saying it's over, it's behind them, and Ashley Meek, the woman who accused him of having a gun, she had very few words. For now, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
All right, Karen, yes, we appreciate that perspective. Listen, we can only know what they're able to tell us.
Right.
So they're ready to move on to the next step. Obviously this has captured a lot of people's attention, trying to find out, what unfolded in those very few minutes that were exchanged. Like the judge said, obviously these two people encountered each other, but she's saying not guilty for Joe Mixon as far as the charges because they could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that in fact he had pulled a gun on her and threatened her.
Yeah, the judge even specifically said, there's 37 seconds missing in the storyline of what transpired as far as what he did not have. Our Brian Hamrick, I know he is trying to get set up down there as well. He's been in the courtroom for the last 4 days. Brian, I don't know if you can hear us just yet, if you're ready to go. Take us through kind of the demeanor of everybody in the courtroom, even over the last 4 days from the alleged victim to Joe Mixon.
Yeah, well, Stephen, this has been a 4-day case over something that happened in a matter of about 20 seconds. So the first thing that happened was they put this witness on the stand, and that took 2 days to talk to this witness and get her story. Her story has been that, and it's been fairly consistent the whole time, is that she was driving down on 3rd Street. Someone at the time she didn't realize it was Joe Mixon, but that someone pulled out in front of her. Then there was this altercation. He slammed on his brakes. Then they continued on, turned onto Walnut Street, and then there was this allegation that there was a screaming back and forth, and then Joe Mixon pulled a gun. And then he sped away, and then she went and reported this to her boss, and then went on down and then reported it to the police after her boss told her that she should go down there. That's been her story all along. And I think the prosecution did a good job of showing that Joe Mixon, in fact, the judge said when she rendered her decision that she believed that Joe Mixon and this woman did have an encounter down there, that something did happen. And I think the prosecution did a very good job of showing that Joe Mixon's vehicle was down there, and then they made the turn onto Walnut Street, and then he went on to his way to 471. However, where they really had the bigger challenge was trying to show whenever Joe Mixon, did he have a gun at all? You know, that was the real problem for the prosecution. Joe Mixon, they searched his house and they looked at his guns and they couldn't find anything vaguely fitting this description that this witness gave the entire this time during this her statement about what this gun looked like, and it was a very vague description at that. So that's where they really failed, and I think that's where the judge had the problem, because it took the gun to then escalate this to another situation where it would have been that she feared for her life, and that's what was required in the statute. It had to be that she feared for her safety, that she feared for her life in this situation, and that just wasn't something that the judge felt like was proven in this case. So that's why she said, you know, and she came out with this very quickly, that this was a not guilty verdict. Didn't take her very long. She probably was in chambers maybe, I think they went in at 11:30, 10:38. I think she came back. Anyway, it's about 20 minutes, I think, before she rendered her decision on this. And it was very, I think it was very well thought out, but she said that she had been taking notes the whole time. In fact, the defense asked for summary judgment, or they asked for that Rule 29, which is even before they put on their case, they asked for this case to be dismissed. And the judge did not allow that. And they put on a very strong case. A lot of times if they ask for this, this is when the prosecution puts on their case. They give all their evidence, and then the defense stands up and says, hey, look, they didn't even prove their case. We don't even need to put on a case. You should dismiss this. And it almost always is the judge says, that's fine. We hear your argument. Now sit down and put on your defense. But in this case, they put on, they gave basically what was a closing argument, and they went after the credibility of this witness, said she was like a snake oil salesman, that she had no credibility, that they didn't have this gun, that they hadn't proven her case, and it should be dismissed. But there are different rules. They have to give the most benefit of the doubt to the prosecution if they're just going to dismiss the case on a Rule 29, and they didn't do that. She didn't do that. She allowed the defense to then put on their case, but they stood up and put on no case. But then she was able to use the rules that you know, of conducting whether or not she found this witness to be credible, whether she found the prosecution's case to be strong enough to be proven within without a reasonable doubt. So that's how it wrapped up. We tried to talk to Joe here. I walked with him for quite a ways outside the courthouse here. He had nothing to say. He wasn't going to say anything. In fact, his defense attorneys didn't say anything after this, and prosecutors didn't say anything either. So we gave them all ample time, and we tried to catch up with the alleged victim as well here, and she had nothing to say as well. So we did kind of cover all the bases of the people that were here, but trying to get anyone to say anything after this was all over, nobody really felt like talking today. I'm going to send it back to you guys. Reporting live, Brian Hemrick, WLWT News 5.
All right, Brian, thank you. We do appreciate it. Yes, Brian's been in there for the last 4 days. He's got the best insight on what all has transpired inside the courtroom. Obviously, certain people could be broadcast, certain people could not, whether they opted in or opted out. So Brian's been our eyes and ears inside the courtroom.
Absolutely. And I was just trying to double check the NFL's personal conduct policy, and it sounds like disciplines could still be on the table for Joe Mixon with just the fact that there are multiple reports of something happening in this altercation. But that's something that Roger Goodell, as he hands out the suspensions and punishments in the league, but we'll just see if anything does come from that on that end of things.
All right. Of course, we'll have much more coming up for you here at noon on WLWT.